I'm Roobina Mongia.
And I'm Gauraang Arora.
Now today we have a very interesting video for you. If you have about 60 to 75,000 of rupees and you want to buy a camera phone, we have three big phones, the iPhone 13, the Samsung S22 and the OnePlus 10 Pro. So Gauraang, what's the criteria when we'll decide and how we'll decide which is the best camera phone?
So a good camera phone is decided by a few factors. The dynamic range, the sharpness, the colors, and just the overall processing that it does after the picture has been clicked.
Let's start with a standard photo, a photo that you will click right after you take out your phone.
Yes, let's go ahead with that.
So as you can see, we have all the three phones. We have opened the same shot that we have clipped on all three phones.
And now we can see all the colors and how different they are on each of these shots.
Absolutely.
We can see the sky to determine the dynamic range along with all the details in the shadows and the darker parts.
So I have to start, Gauraang, by saying that, the color, the thing that we saw yesterday, the exact colors at the time of the day are perfect in the iPhone 13.
I do agree, because even though we're just talking about one shot, if we shift to right of the next shot, colors might be different on the other two phones, but the iPhone maintains that consistency throughout.
I like the fact that you don't have to edit pictures for Samsung because they're just bright colors. They look beautiful for a social media account. I have to say that, like, Samsung clicks the perfect pictures when it comes to colors, but they're not the real colors that you see from your naked eyes.
I completely agree. And that's where I would give a little bit of an appreciation to OnePlus, where they, even though the picture might look a little bit less punchy when you compare it to Samsung, the fact is that the colors are very much accurate for the most part, even though it's a little bit lagging when it comes to comparing it with the shots clicked by the iPhone.
But if you zoom in the pictures, where do you see the most details?
I see the most detail in the staircase, in all the edges of the stone wall that we have.
And the better one comes on Samsung.
Yeah.
Samsung S22 wins in the details when you zoom in.
But then we also have to remember that the fact that, both of these, the OnePlus is a 48 megapixel sensor while Samsung goes for a 50 megapixel sensor, and in both cases I'd say details are fine, but yes, I would trust and I would prefer the details that Samsung puts out rather than OnePlus.
Okay, now let's talk about my favorite mode, and that's portrait mode.
To be really honest, we can't really find the same shot on all phones because all of these three phones click the portrait mode shot in different focal lengths. Samsung goes up straight onto the person, it zooms in the most. OnePlus maintains middle ground. An iPhone, since it does not have a dedicated telephoto lens, it just clicks it from the standard wide lens.
Though I like my picture on the iPhone the most, the iPhone 13. I think it's done a really good job because that's exactly how I look like. And maybe not so much on Samsung because it gives me this blue tint.
Yeah, there's a warmer tint on it, I'd say.
Yeah.
So here
even on OnePlus, I think OnePlus has done a good enough job.
Yes. But the fact is that if you see the edges, I think those are much better detected on the Samsung. But at the same time, Samsung looks much more like a digitally clicked portrait shot rather than an actual depth of field portrait shot.
And if you see my hairline, you will see the exact. I think OnePlus has also done a very good job with the hairline portrait.
And the fact is that OnePlus has, rather than going for something that Samsung does, it has gone for something that the iPhone does, where the depth of field feels much more natural. Now we'll move to the ultra wide mode, where the field of view increases and you're able to see much more while standing at the same particular place.
I really like this mode though, because you can capture a lot just in one frame. Again, we have to say that I really like what Samsung has clicked because the colors pop out, the greens pop out, the sky blue pops out.
But again, fair points to OnePlus here. The 50 megapixel ultra wide does a great job with sharpness. It does a great job with colors, then basically maintaining the natural look of those colors, and just the dynamic range is pretty excellent on the OnePlus.
So does iPhone 13. I think the colors remain how they should be, except that I don't like it, the blacks are too black.
Yeah, the dynamic range is suffering here, which is something of a known fact for iPhones, especially with the iPhone 13 series, where dynamic range is not the best. Sometimes the results might not be as consistent as you have come to expect from an iPhone. And now we move on to something of, a standard wide shot only, but here we have a lot of the sky prevalently in the shot.
And you'll notice that out of three phones, iPhone has the most white sky and the Samsung has the most blue sky.
Yes. again, kudos to Samsung for their post-processing and just, just how much they have mastered dynamic range, because again, we see OnePlus forming the middle ground here, where it's also not white, but it's also not the bluish tint that we actually saw there. And in terms of details and just the overall, management of the dynamic range, OnePlus has brightened the parts which are supposed to be a little bit dim realistically, while Samsung has maintained the same tone throughout.
But I really like that iPhone 13 has maintained the details. So like if you zoom in on all cameras.
Yeah. Even though the megapixel count is lower on this one, the sharpness
on the
is
iPhone
well
13,
maintained.
the details are intact.
Yeah. And the same thing, I'd say the details are very well maintained, but I do think that Samsung does suffer a little bit with the details for some reason, even though it has a much bigger megapixel count than the iPhone.
Now let's get to the selfie mode. I mean, it's really important to have a good selfie camera now.
Yeah, it does seem like it.
So I think I look the prettiest in the Samsung S22. What do you say?
I'd say the colors look much better and much warmer as they are right now in the iPhone and the OnePlus. Even if you are pretty there, you're more real here.
I agree. Though I like myself on Samsung more, the iPhone 13 is more real, and I think even the 10 Pro has clicked like a very decent selfie.
And kudos to OnePlus here, they have come a long way in their selfie game, because they were not good at all with the 9 Pro, and 10 Pro is much better with the selfies because it maintains the details while also doing well with the colors. I would give the biggest piece of the pie to iPhone. The best selfie on all of these three phones is with the iPhone.
And now let's move to our last shot, which is of course the most challenging shot, the low light shot.
Okay, and so with the night mode, iPhone again goes for the real shot, which is the most accurate shot. Samsung does blowout and it makes it look like a different time of the day.
Of course.
And again, OnePlus forming the middle ground like all the cases. It does go for the accuracy, but at the same time, the details, the sharpness is intact as long as you don't zoom into the shot. And the colors are very accurate, and the night shot or the low light shot looks like the low light shot.
Yes, but it's very important for the low light shot to have very less noise, and I think all three phones have done a brilliant job at it. All three phones have very less noise. Yes, you're right. OnePlus has very good details and it's very well lit shot.
Even though there was no light.
So I agree with you here. iPhone has literally no light on the shot.
iPhone has not done well at all with this. I don't know if it's just to maintain the realisticness of the shot, but I don't think iPhone has done good at all, and it can be accurate, but if I can't see anything in the shot, it defeats the whole purpose of the night mode.
So you're saying that in terms of low light, OnePlus and Samsung are better than iPhone?
Definitely, because colors, details, and just the overall reproduction of the entire shot, much better with Samsung and OnePlus. Apple has to drive up the game in this.
So that was a comparison. We have covered almost all kind of scenarios which we will use while clicking from our phone. So what's our verdict, Gauraang?
So if you want the most consistent colors throughout all the pictures that you click, iPhone 13 should be your choice.
And if you want photos that you don't have to go back to an app to edit, post-edit those photos and just directly post on Instagram or any social media apps, then I think Samsung S22 has to be your choice.
And if you want to experiment with your pictures, experiment with the colors, the focal length, just click detailed shots which have very malleable colors, OnePlus 10 Pro should be your choice.
So this was a photo comparison. Next week we will do a video comparison of all these three phones to help you make your choice.